While carrying a tray of glasses to the table, the maid accidentally dropped them, causing shards to cut Aria's leg and wound her. The people at the table began discussing the incident and wondered if the girl would cry, but she simply asked Jessie for a napkin. Requesting the maid to prepare some medication, she apologized and went to treat the wound. Everyone was surprised that the girl behaved according to etiquette for the first time. Of course, she was not the same Aria they knew. Meal entered the room, and immediately a memory flashed in her mind, where the girl sat covered in blood in front of a knight. They were planning to kill her. The children pleaded to look at her. Aria could not recall how everything had led to this. She could think of nothing else but this. The girl would change everything. The knight who wanted to kill Aria was her stepbrother, Meal. Her sister wanted to say something to her. She said that even though her little sister accused her of theft, pushed her down the stairs, and tried to poison her, surely Meal was to blame for all of it. Aria believed her sister was not at fault for anything. It was only her own fault, and she was paying the price for it. Approaching Aria, Meal told her she was a fool. Her entire staff worked for her. She confessed that she had wanted to kill Aria from the moment she stepped into their home. The suffering of our heroine was a source of delight for her sister. She poisoned the girl's mother and framed her. A sword was raised above Aria's head. It couldn't be true. She couldn't die like this. She didn't want to. The girl asked to be taken back to the past, just like a sand hourglass. If she could manage to return, she would not allow the servants to deceive her and would save her mother. Aria woke up at the table. In front of her, she saw her entire family and Meal. If the heroine had a chance to repay her debt, she would do so, like a true villainess. Aria asked Jessie for a napkin. Jessie tended to Aria's wound. In the future, she would be the only maid who attempted to assist her. Tears welled up in the girl's eyes, prompting the servant to inquire about her pain. The heroine replied nonchalantly, as if she had simply yawned. She requested everything to be prepared for sleep. The girl still couldn't discern whether this was reality or a prolonged nightmare. However, if it was indeed real, this room felt unfamiliar to her. The bed was prepared. As soon as Aria attempted to lie under the covers, she immediately screamed and asked Jessie what was there. It was a broken hourglass. The servant assured her that she would tidy it up. The girl remembered how she had pleaded for salvation and thanked God. She promised that this time she would live the life she had always dreamed of. She vowed to bestow upon those who had turned her life into a nightmare something far superior to death. Jessie pondered on the fact that as a child of a prostitute, Aria had behaved terribly, devoid of any manners. But it wasn't her fault. It was all due to her origin. The servant believed that Meal had been attached to the heroine precisely because of that. Aria asked if the hourglass could be repaired. The servant said she would take it to the master. At the table, the girl's adoptive father, Count Rozant, conversed with her mother, Cain. The eldest son of the Rozant family thought that a prostitute could be spotted from a mile away. Meal mentioned that she always anticipated gifts from women when they returned. Aria asked her father to listen to a poem. In the past, she had never learned anything, as she was always compared to Meal. She didn't know that her sister went to great lengths to surpass her. Aria believed that there was no point in fighting, so she quickly gave up and only cared about her appearance. After the recitation of the poem, Meal immediately remarked that there was a response to the poem, which precisely spoke of this struggle. Her sister also recited a poem, and everyone began applauding. Aria stated that perhaps Meal didn't know the true meaning of those lines, as they were written by her brother, who sought to kill the first count for political purposes. Her sister fell for Aria's ruse. Their father stood up and exclaimed, astonished that his daughter was reciting a poem without understanding its meaning. Aria said that rumors had it that these verses contained a curse for several generations to come. Her father defended Meal, stating that she didn't know. For someone who had dedicated her entire life to rote memorization, it was a devastating blow. The dishes began to be brought to the table. Her brother spoke up in defense of his sister, mentioning that she was only 13 and had already learned this poem. The feast began. Thanks to the power of the hourglass, the young lady possesses knowledge of the future. Having returned to the past, she already knew what to do. It was necessary for her to engage in the study of etiquette. Sarah, Aria's private tutor, praised her for her table manners. The heroine expressed her desire to resemble her tutor and promised to make an effort. In the future, the mentor will become Marquis Vincent. In her previous life, Aria did not learn etiquette as she did not see the need for it. considering her mother's beauty as her inheritance. Many men desired her, even though she lacked education. At that time, she believed that she could surpass Mila through her physical appearance. However, beauty eventually fades or becomes tiresome much sooner. On the other hand, her sister, even as a noblewoman, quickly excelled and ultimately surpassed her peers in all aspects. If her sister could do it, then our heroine can succeed as well. Arya dedicated herself to etiquette training. She would become an even greater villainess than Mila. Sarah praised the girl, stating that at the rate she was progressing, she would master etiquette by the end of the year. Yesterday, Arya's mother commended her for her etiquette at the dinner table. In the past, she disliked eating at the table and often acted capriciously. Furthermore, she detested salads because she did not like vegetables. Her father also praised his daughter. Mila remarked that she thought Arya's food was randomly prepared for her. Arya asked if she truly believed that the servants paid such little attention to her. The girl acknowledged her previous terrible behavior, but assumed Mila never realized that something was amiss with her food. She expressed surprise at her sister's opinion of her. Mila began to say it was all a joke. Their father requested that she think before speaking next time. Arya had another etiquette lesson and asked to be taught embroidery. It was rumored that the handkerchief, which caught the attention of Marquis Vincent, was adorned with exquisite embroidery infused with the embroiderer's soul. Her embroidery not only showcased her skill, but also revealed her inner world. Sarah's story, becoming a marchioness, served as an example to many ladies. There was also a legend that if a man carried a handkerchief gifted to him by his wife or daughter, he would enjoy longevity and robust health. The aristocrats clearly had nothing better to do. However, Arya had no intention of missing such an opportunity. Upon unexpectedly entering the Earl's family, Arya struggled to comprehend the concept of aristocracy. It was challenging for her to grasp, and no one even thought to lend her a helping hand. Therefore, this time she would infiltrate their ranks. They wouldn't suspect anything until it was too late, and they would be destroyed. Now that fate had given her such a chance. Very well. Sarah taught Arya embroidery. She praised the girl, as she did everything well. In the past, whenever Arya attempted embroidery, she would get extremely nervous and immediately abandon it. Back then, she simply couldn't see the purpose in embroidery, but now she needed it for her goal. Arya expressed her desire to gift the handkerchief to her father. Consequently, her mother provided her with the finest fabric. The heroine wished to embroider their family crest, the lily, on it. She did not want Miela to find out about her embroidery lessons. Surely, her sister would quickly catch up as well, and if the Count learned about it, he would not be able to accept her handkerchief appropriately. Therefore, the girl requested her mother to keep everything a secret. How fortunate it is that she is at least on her side. In any case, initially Miel was rather inept in the art of needlework, although she had acquired some skill in it by the age of 15. But who knows what might happen if she were to learn everything at once. Arya must be faster in everything. She needs to grasp everything her sister desires. After the girl finished, her teacher praised her. Sarah suggested embroidering something else. Arya wanted to embroider a golden rose. It is the coat of arms of the Duchy of Frederico. The heroine's goal is Miel's suitor, Frederico Oscar. Her sister was head over heels in love with him. Sarah wondered, could Arya possibly be in love with Oscar? But she mustn't. Then people will speak even more ill of her. The girl would steal him away from Miel, not out of love, but to torment her. Sarah asked if Arya really wanted to give the handkerchief to the gentleman. The heroine pretended not to know whom she was talking about and said that their coat of arms simply seemed beautiful to her. The woman genuinely worried for her. She truly is very kind, completely unsuspecting of any trouble. They began the embroidery. No one believed that this maiden could pose any competition in the slightest, and she accepted this as a matter of course. At the table, her father mentioned that it was time to find a new occupation for him. Mieli suggested leatherworking. The idea appealed to the man. Arya pondered how foolish Mieli was, for even if there was a demand for leather 2 years ago, who's to say it's still in vogue now? Moreover, the art of properly processing leather has been lost, and fashioning garments from it remains quite arduous. Furthermore, if one mishandles leather, it emanates an unpleasant odor. Therefore, everything will come to an end even before leather becomes fashionable once more. Arya expressed her opinion on this matter to her father. She recounted hearing that the princess had recently brought back a great deal of fur from her travels and proposed creating items from it. She mentioned that she forgot where she heard that fur would soon become popular. Her father told a servant that if the information proves true, he deserves all the credit, but if not, it no longer concerns him. Mila shared that she had recently found a hairpin that her father had given her when she was young. After verifying the information, her father set out to procure fur for several days. Before he left, Arya presented him with a handkerchief. Her father smiled, praised the girl, and declared that he would cherish it. Arya asked if her brother and sister should also have a handkerchief. The response was negative. It seems that after showcasing her embroidery skills, Mila remains dissatisfied with all her teachers. Arya was the first to embark on learning embroidery, so the distance between them will only grow wider, and the conclusion of their story will also be entirely different. The girl and her mother lay under the sun, sipping tea. The mother remarked that based on her daughter's achievements, it was time to find her a suitor. However, the girl responded that she was merely 14 and would soon turn 15. To this, the woman replied that girlhood is but a fleeting moment. She recounted the many hardships she endured during the girl's years. At one point, she encountered a man who purportedly loved her, but eventually abandoned her, and a baron turned away from the woman once he learned about Arya. The girl asked if it wouldn't have been better to have renounced her. Personally, she would have done so. A child is a burden when living in such conditions that even making ends meet is a struggle. The woman said that the baron would never have accepted her anyway, but she had regretted giving birth a couple of times. But now, everything is splendid. The mother asked if some rural baron is truly better than a count. She requested her tea to be reheated. With such a mother, one doesn't need to be surprised by the sharp change in social status. The girl is infinitely grateful to her, if only for not abandoning her and bringing her along, and she could do nothing when her mother was dying. The woman revealed that Mieli has set her sights on Oscar and asked him to visit them. Arya will undoubtedly vanquish Mieli, for human happiness lies in the misfortune of those who displease them. Cain departed for the academy. Mieli spends entire days engrossed in the art of embroidery within her chamber. At present, there is no one left to disdainfully gaze upon Arya, thus she cannot contain her exultation. Sarah inquired if anything good had befallen her. The maiden responded that many good things had indeed occurred, but the most exceptional of all remained her encounter with the lady. Truly, she rendered her invaluable assistance. Sarah disclosed her intention to host a tea gathering in a few days for a small circle of acquaintances. She desired to invite Arya. The lady wished to showcase to all that the maiden is virtuous, despite the rumors circulating. Some claim that she mistreats the daughter of the count, while others allege that her ill disposition stems entirely from her mother, and so on. These allegations hold some truth. Very well. It is now time to rectify matters in this regard as well. The maiden agreed to attend the reception. Arya entered the chamber and instructed Jessie to dispose of all her attire. How could she dress so poorly? The maid informed her that the timepiece had been repaired and inquired if she should bring it along on her return journey. The maiden stated that she would go herself. Moreover, she needed to purchase new clothing. She requested that everything be prepared for her trip. The heroine contemplated that it would be best if nobody touched her possessions unnecessarily. She would handle them with utmost care, for they had, after all, saved her life. Jess inquired about the attire the maiden would wear if all her clothing were discarded. Nevertheless, she had no intention of wearing any of them. Arya recollected Mieli. She commanded the maid to return everything to its place and leave. She searched for matches, and when attempting to light a candle, accidentally dropped the match, igniting the room. After the fire was extinguished, Arya recounted the entire incident. She also mentioned her intention to travel to the city for new garments, but now it seemed impossible unless someone with a similar physique provided her with attire. Mieli agreed to lend her clothing. Arya specifically chose the very dress that Oscar had bestowed upon her sister on her birthday last year. She cherished it so much that she never wore it once and eventually outgrew it. Mila reluctantly, but allowed her to take it. Before this lily fully blossoms, it must be eradicated root and stem. Before Arya was killed, Mila told her that all of this was part of her plan. The suffering of her sister was a delight to her. The girl came for clothes. She hesitated, as she believed that dressing modestly would hardly please the Count. In the shop, the salesperson said that even though they didn't have the most exquisite dresses, they would find something for the girl. A year ago, even if she didn't eat anything and save money for months, she could never afford such a garment. Arya chose dresses for herself, and while they were being packed, she was offered sweets with tea. Previously, she never thought she could eat proper food. On the street, the girl saw a boy who rented out newspapers. She remembered her childhood when she interacted with a similar boy. He died. He was struck by a carriage. Arya told Jesse that they were buying these newspapers and would pay rent for a month. Now she would buy a newspaper from him every time new ones appeared. In the newspapers for aristocrats, they print rather restrained and specialized information. But in those newspapers intended for commoners, they also print various rumors and gossip. Sometimes they print nonsense, but there is also some truth. The girl read about that very case of slave trading in an underground casino exposed by the hereditary prince. Slavery, after all, is tantamount to owning livestock. Only the owner decides whether you will be killed or saved. And yet, in a country where slavery is abolished, Arya was led to the gallows by a brother and sister who called themselves civilized people. In that life, she understood little, but she remembers that people talked a lot about how the hereditary prince dealt with this problem. She certainly cannot obtain the prince's patronage. Even when she was at the height of her powers and mingled in society, she never caught sight of even a single strand of his hair. They live in completely different worlds. Arya went to buy an hourglass. She used to come here to buy cheap trinkets when she was a beggar. Taking the hourglass, the girl ordered Jesse to pay the old man twice as much and thanked him. Arya felt fear, but in her new life, there is no danger. Although she hurried to get away from these suspicious people, the girl doesn't know if it was due to nostalgia or because she wanted to thank the old man who skillfully repaired the hourglass. Arya herself didn't notice how she said, "You'd better sell this ticket." The girl said that they wouldn't be able to use it. It was a ticket to an auction at the underground casino. They lure people to them with gambling games and auctions for various curiosities. To pay off the debts he took on to buy the ticket, the old man will close his shop, but few will believe the words of a little girl. Before she left, some guy grabbed the girl and asked her why she said that. The gentleman's countenance appeared familiar. Upon considering all the facts, the young lady comprehended that he was a rustic aristocrat, lacking in sophistication and of meager means, hence resorting to earning some extra income at the auction. Arya declared that if he were to release her hand, she would divulge everything. The young man complied accordingly. The young lady mentioned that rumors were circulating, predicting the imminent bankruptcy of the casino. Before departing, the stranger cautioned her that she would face consequences if she had lied. He presumed her to be Mila, as he had heard that the second daughter was a dreadful bore lacking refinement. Why was she familiar to him? The second gentleman inquired whether they should keep track of her. The response was negative. It sufficed that they knew who she was. The young man declared that they would ravage the casino presently. Upon returning home, the young lady pondered on how her servants failed to protect her. One is tempted to implore mother to dismiss them without letters of recommendation, but it would be futile. Perhaps it is even an opportunity in disguise. The young lady remarked that her water was tepid, and winking at Jesse, inquired who would bring her some refreshing water. The young men immediately hurried to fetch her water. Arya laughed and asked the maid to leave. Today, she was on the verge of danger. It is crucial to promptly retrieve Mila's dress. They bear a striking resemblance, hence the young man is unlikely to recognize her. If Arya informs Mila that someone praised her dress, she will wear it incessantly to ensure everyone realizes it is hers. Thus, she would serve as a cover for the young lady. The young men brought water to the young lady, while Jesse provided tea tea with confections. As time passes, the heroine becomes increasingly apprehensive of an impending future that she cannot control. Therefore, it would be better for her to acquire a couple of faithful canine companions. The stranger and his gang proceeded towards the casino. Arya regaled Miela with tales of the admiration received for her gown. Immediately, her sister began wearing it. Sarah informed the young lady about the significance of needlework exchanges during tea parties to strengthen relationships. The young lady agreed to embroider handkerchiefs. If she dared to engage in this task, wouldn't it be an opportunity to jest at Miela's expense? The heroine presented her sister with a handkerchief and inquired if she could admire her works. Miela responded that she had nothing to show at present. It would be marvelous if Miela remained so naive until the endgame, but she would mature and grow wiser. Why did the young lady allow herself to be manipulated by such a child with that jug? Afterward, her life began to spiral downward. Although she was at fault for leaving him in the first place, she must exercise utmost caution to prevent a recurrence of such events. Absolutely. She will attempt to forge connections with those aristocrats to expand her network. Arya attended the tea gathering. She had a foreboding feeling. The young lady exchanged greetings with everyone. She arrived last to draw attention to her modest attire. The girls engaged in pleasant conversations. Everyone was shocked because Arya stood out from the girl of whom everyone spoke. The heroine presented handkerchiefs, handcrafted by her, to everyone. After her heartfelt account, they became more intrigued by her. These trivial matters consume a great deal of time, and they can be quite tedious. The young lady is not particularly inclined to engage in such activities. However, she realizes that Miela also made public appearances to secure support, which strengthens her motivation. But who was her patron then? Arya should endeavor to reach him first to sever Miela's path to ascendancy. Everyone appreciated the gift, prompting Arya to declare that she would make more on the next occasion as reciprocal gestures. The young ladies proposed outings to boutiques or the finest confectionaries, among other delights. A certain lady mentioned that Venkat Rupert traded in human trafficking at the casino, hence the streets were perilous. Currently, the man was on the run. The young lady was shocked, as in the past, the prince's operation had not failed, and Rupert had been captured. The young lady desired to make a request of her guard, John. The guard of the young lady conversed with his friend. He entered the workshop of the old man. John imbibed the elixir offered to him by the gentleman and succumbed to unconsciousness. He was surrounded by fellows. The old man received payment for the information. Upon returning home to Arya, John recounted everything. The young lady instructed him to remain by Miela's side. Throughout the night, the lad failed to acquire any valuable intelligence. Venkat Rupert was captured. Today, the heroine will continue honing and polishing her weaponry. Arya beseeched her mother to engage several tutors for her. Merely relying on embroidery will yield limited results in high society. It is time to expand connections. The list provided by Arya's mother consists of women seeking advantageous matches to elevate their family status. She plans to manipulate them into forming alliances with their sons at any cost. In this manner, the young lady will effortlessly obtain substantial support. A woman named Salen White arrived to see Arya. In the past, she had married her son off to a girl from another lineage. The woman taught the young lady mathematics. Arya must feign kindness towards her. She exerted such effort to appear favorable in their eyes that she was devilishly fatigued. Although the lessons themselves were beneficial to her, all the women's sons viewed Arya merely as a beautiful doll, so she won't even give them a chance. Her target is Oscar, and solely to vex Miela. She must toil arduously to steal him away. The young lady informed Sarah about the tutors. The heroine expressed that the woman remained the best choice for her and hoped that she would encounter a man who would love her. In the process, they would become pillars of support for the heroine. It appears that Miela still struggles with embroidery, or perhaps she is concerned about the constant visitors to Arya. Whatever it may be, her worn-out appearance fills the heart of the young lady with joy. Miela will compose another letter to Cain. However, her dear brother can only provide solace in writing as he is currently confined to his dormitory. The heroine will accumulate more knowledge and influence, thereby thwarting her sister's plans for an engagement with Oscar. She will make her endure what she herself has experienced. Someone has arrived to see the young lady, so she sent Jess to investigate. When one becomes accustomed to the noble life, the desire for sustenance increases. The maid has still not returned. The house was exceedingly quiet. The heroine caught sight of Jesse. The guests were Kane and Oscar. He was supposed to visit much later. Could it be that Mila's letters hastened this moment, and the young lady was merely in her nightwear? She exchanged greetings. The sister, brother, and young man proceeded to have a meal, while Arya instructed Jess to prepare her dress and attend to her hair. The course of events hastened slightly. It is now clear what the heroine must do next. She descended and inquired if she could join the feast. Oscar apologized for forgetting about her and invited her to the table. Arya introduced herself. Her past self was so absurd. A count who brought an innocent and obedient harlot into the family. His son, who immediately despised his half-sister. Mila, who portrayed the girl as the source of all filth, allowing this repulsive lineage to undeservedly destroy herself. The past Arya was dreadfully ludicrous. Oscar grew weary within the walls of the dormitory, so he decided to take a ride with Kane. Mila thanked Oscar for the dress and mentioned that she wore it for the first time. In return, she wanted to present him with a suit but was unsure of which one. Kane suggested visiting a boutique to make a selection. Oscar declined, stating that they could go together while he stayed with Arya. The young man wished to rest after the long journey. The young lady bid farewell to her brother and sister. Jesse asked where to place the handkerchief. The heroine took it. She had prepared this handkerchief for a special occasion, but it had not yet arrived. Since she didn't know when Mila would give the handkerchief to Oscar, it was best to keep it with her just in case. Arya began preparing for her lessons. The history book detailed the ancestors of the nobles she had encountered at past balls, these wretched individuals elevated as heroes. A wise system where killers and thieves reign over all. That is the entirety of aristocracy. They care not for anything except to fill their bellies, and Arya is no different. As soon as her social status changed, she began squandering money. The young lady proceeded to the winter garden. Although her mother had lost interest in it, the servants clearly still cared for it. By the way, it is quite warm here. Would watering the flowers with cool water make a difference? The young lady started watering all the flowers. There was one flower she couldn't reach, but if she decided to water it, she would water it. Unexpectedly, the young man entered, and the water splashed onto him. Arya noticed that it was Oscar. The young lady commenced her apologies. The young man seemed to imply that everything was fine, as if trivial matters would not disrupt their harmony. No. Why was the young man wandering around the house? He had declared his intent to sleep. The young man admitted his fault, acknowledging his unauthorized perambulations. Oscar inquired if the young lady was shedding tears. She responded that it was merely the heat causing her eyes to well up. Now Arya comprehends the true nature of this young man. He is kind-hearted, incapable of leaving someone in distress. That is where his vulnerability lies, of which the young lady was unaware at the time. She presented the young man with a handkerchief, and he accepted it. Nobles expressed their sympathy through the bestowal of handkerchiefs. Returning such an item to a lady is tantamount to an insult. The heir of the Federico lineage will undoubtedly adhere to the rules of etiquette. The young man asked if he could retrieve the handkerchief. The young lady assured him that he certainly could. She commanded preparations for a bath and all the necessary amenities for Oscar. Arya inquired if he had clothing with him. The young man replied that he had sent his assistant to fetch it. The heroes went their separate ways, hoping that he would offer a reciprocal gift. At the table, Oscar inquired about the success of their journey. Kane stated that it went well, and they had procured feather pen nibs for the young man, as his current ones were quite worn. Oscar expressed his gratitude to Mila. The young lady contemplated whether to recount the story of the handkerchief and disrupt the current atmosphere. No, she must endure. They must not discern her intentions. For now, it is better to explore other possibilities. The young man inquired if everything was well with Arya. Her response was affirmative. Mila accidentally dropped her fork. Oscar departed. The mother burst into the room where the young lady was. She had gone on a shopping excursion to a neighboring country. The woman inquired about the young man. Arya nonchalantly remarked that there was nothing extraordinary to report. 2 gifts arrived from the Federico household. One box was intended for Mila, while the other was for Arya. The young lady recounted the story of the handkerchief she had given him. Everyone was taken aback. Arya and Mila received notes from Oscar. Mother wished for them to read them. them, but the young lady stated that it would be disrespectful towards the young man. The chambermaid opened Aria's box. Inside, there was a dress, a pair of shoes, and a golden rose hairpin. If she were to don everything, she would be tardy, so she simply took the hairpin and departed. In the carriage, the young lady perused the letter. It contained words of gratitude for the handkerchief and a request not to refuse the gift. Reading it in front of everyone would dispel any misconceptions. It is precisely from those misconceptions that she must extract all she can. After the trip, Aria plans to visit a jewelry store to select a gift for Oscar. She is no longer the foolish spendthrift and villainess they perceived her to be. The young lady is a savior, determined to liberate the wretched girl who desperately conceals her corrupt nature, a life woven entirely from falsehoods. At the reception, everyone praised the young lady's hairpin. She presented them all with handkerchiefs bearing the heraldry of their respective houses. The women claimed to have spoken of Aria to their relatives. This reception served no purpose. She could not miss it because of Sarah, but the heroine did not engage in mere pointless acquaintances. She noticed a particular gentleman. He explained that he was substituting as her coachman since her regular driver was suffering from stomach pain after lunch. The heroine commanded him to identify himself. It was Elect, who had been in service at the estate for 30 years. The young lady questioned why he had not forewarned her. She had encountered situations in which Mila had sent her hired servants who could have killed her. She could execute such a plan at any moment. Her sister is fully capable of sending someone to kill her. Mila does not intend to disappoint Aria in her role as a villainess. Compared to her past trivial taunts, she has started playing a grander game. As swiftly as the heroine progresses, Mila reveals her true essence. The young lady instructed the new coachman to fetch the carriage and drive home, informing them that she would return shortly. He noticeably darkened when told to turn back. The carriage jostled in all directions. It felt as if it could collapse at any moment. This only further confirmed Aria's concerns. She instructed the servants to locate the carriage. Since they had failed to keep track of the coachman's change, they should find the carriage. They hadn't even noticed what was right under their noses. And although the young lady had been intending to ignore the possibility that all her troubles stemmed from her origin, she can no longer overlook it. Aria entered the jeweler's shop to look at brooches. They presented her with the most precious adornments. She selected a brooch and also ordered a few small ones depicting the Rosden coat of arms. They will be delivered to the estate tomorrow. Before leaving, the shop owner gifted Aria a pendant. John went to search for the carriage, while Jessie asked for more sweets for tea. Peering out the window, the young lady saw a multitude of people. All the money her mother earned, she invested in herself. Thanks to that, they are now in the Count's family. To grow up in a gutter, only to escape from it, to have a chance at a good life. She won't allow Mila to deprive her of this. Aria will adorn this fortress wall, starting with her sister's head, then Cain's, and perhaps even the Count's. Accusing them of high treason would be the most fitting way to destroy this family. The young lady noticed the young man who had stopped her when she had come for the hourglass. Their gazes met, and he smirked. Aria quickly closed the curtains. Jessie entered and brought tea with sweets. She asked if everything was all right. The young lady inquired if the carriage had arrived. The answer was affirmative. She thought she would never encounter the young man again, but she should simply ignore him. He is a common minor noble. The young lady noticed a bouquet of flowers before entering the carriage. It was lifted by that young man. The gentleman presented the young lady with flowers and stated that they were a token of his admiration for her. On this occasion, he displayed remarkable affability. However, this only served to worsen her mood. The young lady expressed her inability to accept his gift without knowledge of his intentions and lineage. He introduced himself as, due to personal reasons, the gentleman could not disclose his family background. Aria accepted the bouquet, and as a parting gesture, the gentleman requested to kiss her hand. The young lady declined, as apologized for their previous encounter. As the heroine climbed into the carriage, she accidentally dropped the flowers and stepped on them. The gentleman remarked that the bouquet no longer suited her and agreed to dispose of it. Upon arriving at the estate, the young lady was informed that the coachman was in the hospital, as he had fallen severely ill with a stomach ailment, a case of food poisoning. Furthermore, a servant discovered that some parts were missing from her carriage, which made the journey uncomfortable. All of this was due to Oscar's morning gift. Apparently, Miela had realized she had a rival and acted impulsively. Soon, they would clash in a real confrontation. Nevertheless, these were circumstantial clues. The majority of the estate's inhabitants still sided with Miela. First, it was necessary to deal with her accomplices. Arya recounted everything to her mother. The woman gathered all the servants and began reprimanding them. Initially, the coachman was the primary target, but the young lady stated that the butler was ultimately responsible for everything. They believed him, as he had served the family for over 20 years. Arya suggested calling the guards. Miela asked if that wouldn't be excessive. Her sister remarked that the carriage was not in such a dire state. The heroine inquired how she knew that. The sister conveyed that she had heard about the carriage's condition. Arya inquired from whom. Her maid suggested that she claimed to have overheard a conversation from another girl. Arya complied, mentioning that if she were to find herself in the carriage, she would feel frightened and continue to be apprehensive whenever Miela was present in it. She pretended to weep and nestled into her mother's bosom. Her mother would align with her. Miela was absent from the table because she felt unwell and desired to dine in her room. Perhaps just a glance at Arya caused her discomfort, and today, her usual dismal mood seemed even worse. In the race against her sister, the heroine had spent a decade engrossed in the intrigues of high society, surpassing her by far. Of course, that life, due to her own folly, ended with the severance of her head, but now everything was going splendidly. The butler reported that a representative from the jewelry store had arrived for the young lady. It was the brooches she had ordered. Thanks to yesterday's efforts, today would be enchanting. After pondering overnight, the mother made the decision to dismiss the coachman, Electa, and the one who had left the lady's service would be assigned to clean the stables. Miela mentioned feeling unwell, so she would retire. Arya wished her a thorough rest. Before her sister departed, the young lady presented her with a pendant given to her by the gentleman from the jewelry store. Miela expressed her gratitude to the heroine. Everyone remarked that the pendant suited her. The coachman had fallen under the sword of justice. It would be marvelous to fit her sister's neck under it as well. However, the young lady still had work to do. Miela's maids remained loyal to her, ensuring her comfort. Although it was a mere trifle, Arya would swiftly deal with them at the next opportunity. First and foremost, understanding the chief maid, Emma, remained. She had been with Miela since childhood, so it was possible that she directed her actions. Later, the sister would become the villainess, but for now, she was nothing more than a foolish 13-year-old child. It was likely that she wasn't the only one complicit in the girl's execution. To learn more about Emma, it was necessary to first approach the freckled maid. If Emma was involved in this story, perhaps she would aid in the girl's execution this time. Arya grew calmer when she gazed at the hourglass. She sent a gift with a letter to Oscar. The sooner, the better. She could relish in Miela's contorted face. Jessie inquired if she should bring the young lady some tea while she wrote a letter, but she had already written it. Glancing at the table, Arya noticed that it lay there. She felt weary. Perhaps it was all due to exhaustion. There was no other way to explain what had occurred. The young lady drifted off to sleep. She awakened the next day, and Jessie asked if she had caught a cold, to which the heroine replied that she had simply overexerted herself. The maid departed. How had the young lady managed to sleep for so long? Arya flipped the hourglass, and time reversed. Jessie inquired once again about her well-being. After several experiments, the heroine understood how the hourglass worked. Firstly, by flipping it, she could only go back in time once a day. Additionally, she could only go back for a maximum of 5 minutes. It was sufficient to rectify minor mistakes. The hourglass operated in this manner only in the hands of the young lady. During a lesson, Arya was asked why she was so cheerful and was urged to share. The heroine mentioned seeing a fox. She stated that the teacher would meet her if she looked into a mirror. This fox constantly wanted Arya to take an interest in her son, despite the fact that he was a dreadful drunkard and fool. Arya returned to the past. She claimed that the teacher's lessons were always captivating. After using the hourglass, the young lady always felt intense fatigue and fell asleep for a long time. Perhaps this power was consuming her life. But even if that were the case, she couldn't miss this opportunity. Arya would make use of everything given to her to fulfill her desires. The young lady teased Mila, then rewound time. Upon returning, John said that there were exams at the academy, so Oscar couldn't send a letter, but he had accepted the gift. After some time, the young man sent a letter. It contained gratitude, and he expressed a desire to meet the young lady in person, asking her to provide a date and time. Judging by his words, he had no intention of returning the gift, but perhaps because of Mila, he wanted to request an end to their relationship. The young lady composed a response to the letter and instructed Jesse to send it. Arya indulged in confections, traveled back in time, and returned them to Jesse and the rest of the staff. The maid was astonished, and also mentioned that the textbook the young lady had ordered had already arrived. Arya comprehended the written text perfectly well, so she could read it. The household economics books were old, filled with outdated expressions that she couldn't grasp no matter how carefully she studied them. Therefore, she ordered a primer on the fundamentals of economics for young nobles. It was precisely what she needed. Since Arya's return to the past had already altered the course of events, it would be better if she were a young man. An aristocrat must undergo training at the academy, while a young lady has nowhere to pursue her studies. Last time, the girl evaded the Count's inquiry about that information, but the level of trust in the informant depends on who they truly are. Her father had been informed that a neighboring country might invade them in a few years. Arya cannot change her gender, so in order for the Count to trust her advice in the future, she needs to have a thorough understanding of economics, history, and politics. Certainly, she could engage in conversations with the Duke on other topics, but then all the honors would go to the Count, and the most she could hope for would be recognition as a lovely daughter with good intuition. Therefore, the heroine must strengthen her position. She will venture into entrepreneurship. In that life, she encountered such women, aristocrats far from perfection, who attached no importance to appearance and were solely fixated on money and influence. The girl vividly remembers how she laughed at them. Back then, as a naturally beautiful woman, she didn't envy them in the slightest and was confident in her own superiority. However, a beautiful face is a poison. Because everyone fawned over her, she failed to grasp the true state of affairs. In this life, the heroine will not repeat that mistake. She will accumulate knowledge. Money is power, and for the sake of it, the young lady will study diligently. Today is her birthday, and as Jesse approached the bedside, she inquired if Arya truly wished to celebrate it so modestly. The girl replied that this year she wants to celebrate everything calmly by inviting a couple of ladies. Mila's birthday is slightly later than Arya's, and she will still face criticism there, so she sees no point in trying to rectify that. Sooner or later, she will have to match the level and organize everything on a grand scale, of course. But for now, it's not necessary. And since the heroine should change public opinion about herself, it's worth starting with herself. Sarah arrived at the estate. The girl was overjoyed and embraced her, but then greeted her properly. If before she was only pretending, now she genuinely delighted in seeing the woman. No matter whom Arya meets, she is still the best, her dependable patroness. When she sees Sarah, emotions overwhelm her. Sitting in the girl's room, the woman asked what she would like for her birthday. She replied that a handkerchief with her embroidery, more precisely, 2 handkerchiefs, one for her and the other for Sarah. The mentor agreed. Soon after her debut, she will become a marchioness and be very occupied. Around that time, she should embroider a handkerchief that will catch the Marquis's attention, so the heroine requested a matching one to strengthen their bond. She expressed how much she eagerly anticipated the woman's debut, but the woman herself didn't anticipate it. The girl asked why. Even if life becomes more pleasant for her only after meeting a suitable man, at least a wealthy and loving husband is better than a destitute aristocrat from the provinces. Sarah thanked Arya for her support. It's better to pause here. If the girl goes too far, this conversation will needlessly disturb her, as she is already anxious about her debut. She asked what Sarah would like to do when she becomes an adult. Sarah replied that she wants to teach children, and it's all thanks to her. After all, it was through lessons with her that this desire awakened in the woman. The ladies conversed sweetly, and Arya asked if Sarah would accompany her on her own debut. The Marchioness will accompany her, and such a gesture is unlikely to go unnoticed. Every time the heroine takes a step closer to her goal, she trembles with her entire soul. The woman said she would be by her side. All the invited ladies congratulated Arya. Oscar seems unlikely to come, but she clearly wrote in the letter for him to come today. Why is the young man still not here? Has he decided not to come after all? Thank goodness, there is at least an orchestra. Otherwise, everything would be dreary. Before lunch was served, the girl began to unpack the gifts. Sarah gave her a splendid handkerchief. Arya was infinitely grateful. Everyone praised the heroine's attire. It was a gift from her father. She said that of all the gifts from her father, she liked the plush bear the most. The ladies requested to see it. Jess brought it, and everyone praised the toy. It had precious gemstones everywhere. The ladies were about to start the feast, but Morel arrived. She presented the girl with flowers and wished her a happy birthday before leaving. The older sister who didn't invite the younger one to the birthday celebration. It's a severe blow to her reputation, and as luck would have it, the heroine didn't bring her hourglass with her. The girl explained that Morel is lonely since their father and brother are not at home, and she and their mother are not on very warm terms. Everyone began to sympathize with Arya and say that it's not her fault. For the first time, Morel became agitated, and nothing came of it. Arya bid farewell to all the ladies after the reception. She pondered over what had happened. It was a mere trifle that she could have handled herself, but the moment she lost her composure, she thought of running to the hourglass. However, it would have been even more foolish not to take advantage of the existing advantage. She needed to keep the hourglass at the ready so that she could use it at the appropriate moment. It's fortunate that the girl realized this before something serious occurred. Jessie entered the room and exclaimed, "He has arrived." It was Oscar. The girl instructed to bring him to the drawing room while she changed. Morel descended to meet the young man, and after greeting him, asked what brought him here. Morel seated herself next to the young man. She noticed the flowers and pondered over what he wanted to gift to Arya. The girl asked if he could attend her birthday, but before that, she revealed that her sister had not invited her to the celebration. Oscar assured her that he would try to free up some time. Arya arrived. She realized that her sister took advantage of the fact that she was changing clothes. The girl showed the young man the hairpin he had given her and asked if it suited her. The response was affirmative. He said that she didn't need to give him a brooch. The girl expressed that it was the first time she had ever given a gift to someone and apologized if she burdened him with it. Oscar had brought the brooch with him. Arya pinned it to the young man's attire. He presented the heroine with a bouquet. Oscar apologized for not having prepared a more fitting gift as he was unaware of her birthday. The girl reassured him, saying that everything was fine and she was very pleased. As a gift, she asked him to become her pen pal. The heroine confessed that she felt lonely and apologized for her audacity. The young man agreed. Arya timely used the hourglass, as he had almost declined her invitation. It's fortunate that she didn't use it on Morel. Since she must utilize the hourglass productively, she should synchronize it with the time. She contemplated ordering a set of hourglasses that measure 5 minutes each. Jess entered the room and inquired whether to serve lunch, expressing concern about Arya oversleeping once again. The girl attributed it to exhaustion from the celebration. The maid insisted on calling a doctor. Sometimes she can be quite stubborn. In the past, it used to annoy the heroine greatly, prompting her to lose her temper. But lately, she has become more astute. Jess cares for the girl so much that she wishes to reward her. When she approached her, the girl was startled. It's all because of what she had experienced a few months ago. When Arya was immature, it tempts her to tease the maid, but that would only invite trouble. Whispering in Jess's ear, the girl confessed that she likes her much more than she realizes. The young woman expressed her shame for her previous behavior. She bestowed upon Jess a brooch and professed her profound admiration for her. The maid was greatly astonished. Arya requested her to visit a jeweler and order a timepiece that would measure 5 minutes with a simple press of a button. Jess promptly departed. Such swiftness! Could it be that she was truly enamored with the brooch? The heroine hurried down to Sarah. Having dressed herself, she perspired. From one of the maids, Morel, the girl requested a serving of tea. Afterwards, she beseeched her to attend to her needs in her absence. absence. The servant mentioned that she needed to carry out Myrelle's instruction, thus she would summon someone else. Aria implored her to answer a couple of questions beforehand. She inquired about the name of the redhead girl with freckles. Her name is Annie. She is 15 years old. She has been working at the estate for 5 years and is the youngest one. The girl requested the hourglass to be brought to her. Time turned back. She asked for the youngest maid to be summoned if the current one was occupied. The heroine proposed to Sarah to engage in debut preparation. They commenced with a dance. The instructor praised the girl while Sarah taught her. Jess burst into the room and apologized for her delay. Aria informed Annie that she was free to go. At the table, Myrelle offered Aria one of her maids. She seized the opportunity to send someone to watch over the girl. Surely, she wanted to gather information about Oscar. The heroine requested the youngest servant. Although she expressed it explicitly, she found such keen surveillance somewhat vexing. Aria asked Annie if she could have a closer look at her face. Aria adorned Annie. She stated that if Annie desired, she could keep the cosmetics for herself. As soon as the young woman approached the maid, she realized that this girl had likely been surreptitiously using Myrelle's cosmetics little by little. The scent emanating from the cosmetics used by commoners could not possibly be so fragrantly herbal. Annie's eyes shimmered at the sight of jewels. Being still young, she did not conceal her greed. The girl also gifted her a hairpin. Annie inquired about the brooch. Aria explained that she could not bestow it upon her just yet, as she had not yet done anything or earned her trust. The heroine suggested practicing the art of tea drinking. She handled it skillfully, for she had probably rehearsed and envisioned herself as a noblewoman. It will be easy for the girl to win her over. She announced her intention to retire and instructed Annie to inform Jessie to replace her. Time is fleeting indeed. The day of Myrelle's birthday has arrived. The girl constantly wonders what the purpose of all this showness is, the extravagant packaging and the abundance of gifts. She does not yearn for such luxury. However, she does not envy her sister. It's all about Oscar. He has yet to respond to Aria, and because of this, everything around her irritates her. He is not the type to break a promise. Most likely, his response simply did not reach her. Father returned for Myrelle's birthday. He genuinely loves her, but upon further reflection, even the fact that he sent a gift to the heroine on her own birthday indicates significant progress. They appear so happy. This makes the girl anticipate her day of revenge even more. She will never forget how they treated her mother and her. I wonder how long their smiles will last. Aria will reveal everyone's true nature, the roast Zentovs. She will undoubtedly destroy them. Today is Myrelle's birthday party, so the girl will indulge herself using the hourglass to embarrass her sister. She will gather her strength and flawlessly execute the plan. The heroine noticed a young man approaching Myrelle and introducing himself as Rien Pino. He did not exist in her previous life. The stranger bestowed numerous gifts and claimed they were all from his master. Could it be that among the unknown aristocrats there exists such a wealthy individual? Who is he truly? The heroine is utterly displeased by this unforeseen change. The dress on Myrelle was familiar to the girl. Oscar gifted the sisters identical dresses, but in different colors. Aria greeted her father and introduced herself as a guest. He was unaware of the existence of another daughter. He remarked that she was incredibly beautiful. In the past, men could not divert their gazes from her countenance. The young man mentioned that there was another gift for Myrelle. The heroine intended to retreat to her room, but her father stopped her and presented the gift. Previously, he only bestowed jewels upon her sister. Aria instructed Jess to prepare the dress from Mr. Oscar. She would change into it. She needed to focus on today's mission. The girl would ensure that Myrelle would forever be ashamed of this day. She entered the hall, surprising everyone. The heroine congratulated her sister on her birthday and presented her with flowers. Myrelle noticed their similar dresses. She paraded around, boasting that it was a gift from Oscar, so the girl had to inform her that she wasn't the sole recipient of such a gift. The whole hall buzzed with whispers and discussions about Aria. No matter what they said, she would make the witnesses question these rumors with their own eyes. It should help quell the dirty gossip about her. As for her lineage, nothing could be done about it, so let them chatter away. Well, then it's time to start tormenting Myrelle. Kane and Oscar arrived. The girl was surprised because Kane had never before more come for her sister's birthday. Why had his attitude changed compared to the past? And this despite the fact that he hadn't even replied to Aria's letter. Could she have been mistaken about something, and Morel had started to captivate him more? The girl couldn't help but smirk as Kane stared at her. Now she understood. Oscar was interested in her, but his conscience gnawed at him, which is why he came to his sister's birthday. The young man couldn't comprehend why he constantly thought of her. Aria greeted her brother and Oscar. The more she learned, the more pathetic her past self, destroyed by her brother and the child, seemed to her. The heroine apologized, and stating that she shouldn't be there, fled. Oscar followed her to her room. The young man inquired if he would be a bother. The response was negative, and he entered. The girl had thought he wouldn't come anymore. During that time, she had consumed 3 cups of tea. But oh well, she forgives him, as Oscar has indeed arrived. For some reason, she finds his concerned countenance regarding her rather appealing. The young man delivered his response to her letter, and mentioned that he wanted to convey it personally. The issue that had been troubling the girl all morning turned out not to be an issue at all. The heroes conversed, and Aria proposed that the young man stay for dinner. He couldn't refuse. The stranger chattered away with Morel. It seemed to the girl that he was imposing his master on her sister. They didn't address the heroine even once during dinner. Lately, Kane has been casting glances at her that are better left unnoticed. Morel thanked Oscar for the gift. He presented her with an appropriate gift, as one would for a beloved. Is the young man trying to sit on 2 chairs at once? While he is torn between the two, it is necessary to make him prefer Aria. Morel gave a handkerchief to her father, and also to her brother. She certainly won't give anything to the girl. Contrary to her hopes, her sister finished faster. She had prepared handkerchiefs for everyone except Aria. She mentioned that Morel could embroider one for her later. The sister agreed. No matter what she does, the idiots around her will praise her, who really needs her efforts anyway. In the end, the girl never received a handkerchief, even after a considerable amount of time had passed. Morel has learned to embroider too quickly. Surely she has some secret. The heroine must find out. She painted Ini once again. Aria mentioned that she would soon attend a reception with Sarah and would take her along. She asked how Morel managed to embroider the handkerchief so quickly. The girl replied that she had a good teacher and understood everything herself. The teacher embroidered the base, and her sister did everything else. But now the mentor has left. Aria stated that trust is essential in their relationship. Ini declared that she would serve her faithfully. This concludes the first part of the retelling of this manhwa. If you want to see the continuation, be sure to subscribe to the channel with a bell, because this way you will be the first to know about new and interesting videos on this channel. You can also see my other interesting retellings of manhwa.